Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, key milestones. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the sale on the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. Now, Bitcoin has surged at this point by approximately 9%. And with that in mind, it makes us want to remind ourselves what are some key milestones for Bitcoin to get past, for us to actually resume overall bullish sentiment. All right, so in this video, that's what we're going to do. Anytime we see these types of market conditions where there's a lot of volatility one way or another, I sometimes feel like crypto investors are like puppies, right? If we can get scolded one day by the market where it just goes down, and then the next day, as long as it goes back up, we just come back out wagging our tails and we're happy again. Now, I wanted to talk about some of these key milestones primarily because we do not want to lose sight of them. Okay, we recognize what needs to happen for the market to actually get bullish, and until that time, exercising a large degree of caution still makes a lot of sense. So, the bull market support band, as always, and we're going to talk about more than just this one, that one is currently ranging from approximately 44.3K to 47.6K. So really, if Bitcoin could get back to $48,000 and hold it as support, then we're potentially back in business, okay? And we can start talking about the work we have to do to get to a new all-time high. Until that time comes, this band here is still a resistance band. Okay, so you can see all these wicks we've had to it. I mean, we've revisited it several times over the last few months, and up until this point, at least so far, we've just been hammered back down by the bull market support band. So that is one area. That's one line in the sand to keep an eye on. Can Bitcoin get back to 48K? And if so, can it actually hold it as support and then start trending higher? But we also have other moving averages like that we'd like to discuss. So we're gonna take a brief tour of not only moving averages but also some other things as well. So there's the 50-week moving average, which is now at 46.6K. So while the 20-week estimate is all the way up at it's up at 47K, almost between 47 and 48K. The 50-week is actually lower than that at 46.6K. So I actually consider this to be a pretty big milestone because if we can get back above it, it certainly would show that Bitcoin has at least some signs of life. We've noted before that when we get below it, it is very difficult to get back above the 50-week moving average. We can eventually get back above it. But here, when we got below the 50-week, you can see we dropped and then we eventually got back above it. But it's not usually an easy task. All right. So the 50-week is coming in at 46.6K. If we can get back above that, even though it's less than the 20-week moving average at the current time, it would at least show some signs of life, okay, for Bitcoin. Now, furthermore, we can go look at the 100-week moving average. And this is an interesting moving average because one of the reasons is because we don't typically, we did hold it as support over here, and then we had the pandemic drop. But a lot of times, at least in the past, it has not provided that much of a support level. So you can see we consolidated around the 100-week moving average here. We also consolidated around it here. And ultimately, both times that it happened, the floor ultimately fell out. Now, you could argue potentially that if the 100-week moving average were somewhat like extended over here, maybe you could argue that we held the 100-week moving average over here if we had some type of price data beforehand, but obviously that's just dubious speculation at its finest. So with that in mind, the 100-week moving average, I would argue we don't want to go below, right? We don't want to go below that level because normally when you go below that level, it doesn't really lead to good things in the short term. Oftentimes it leads to a capitulation, at which point is basically the opportunity phase of a lifetime or the accumulation phase of a lifetime if it happens. But if you don't want to go through that type of a scenario, then you really don't want Bitcoin to lose the 100-week moving average, which is currently at around 33.7K. Now, I also wanted to talk about a lot of other milestones as well. We have our corridor, which has done an exceptional job, I think, of identifying, at least so far, It's done an exceptional job of identifying bottoms like we see here. And if you're curious what this ranges from right now, it ranges from 31K to 115K. So again, we're not saying that Bitcoin can only ever go to 115K or can only ever drop to 31K. It's just that this week, that is what this metric implies, is that the price should stay somewhere between 31K to 115K if history is any indication. Obviously, we're not expecting 115K Bitcoin, but even if Bitcoin were to start moving higher, it would take a long time for this to actually curl back up and allow for an even higher price. So that is a very important level as well, the lower bound on the corridor. The fair value fit to all data, we've now had 2 wicks to it, right? 2 separate wicks to that level. And you can see those wicks right here, Exhibit A and then Exhibit B, 2 wicks to the fair value fit to all data. And that is currently at 34.7K. So there's definitely a lot of confluence among various indicators, right? You have the corridor around this in the 30K region. You have the fair value in the 30K region. You have the 100-week moving average also right around that area, and so on and so forth. Okay, but the resistance above us is what we're clearly looking to break, the bull market support band. And a softer target would be the 50-week moving average coming in at around 46, just below $47,000. So there's a lot of milestones to watch here, and to see, can the Bitcoin bulls become victorious and take out the bull market support band and hold it as support? I mean, normally when we hold it as support, we see a new all-time high. Okay, I mean, I know the skies weren't as clear as we wanted them to be over here when we held it as support, but we at least did go put in a new all-time high. So really what you want to look for to see the market actually get bullish would be to see Bitcoin get above that level and then come back down and hold it as support. Okay, so, in September, that was a great example. So we rallied above it in August, and then we came back down to test it as support in September. And then over here in 2020, you can see we rallied above it, and then we went all the way up in August, and then we came back down in September to hold it as support again. So you can see there's been plenty of times in the past where this this area has been a key pullback area for Bitcoin in the event of it rallying above the bull market support band. So imagine if it did rally above it, then presumably we would have to come back down and hold it as support at potentially the same prices that it's currently at, somewhere between around $45,000 or so. But I want people to to try to have some perspective on the market and recognize that we still got a lot of work to do for Bitcoin to really shift the tide, and turn this ship around. We all want to see it happen, but we need to be cautious and take this thing one day at a time. So those are the key milestones, at least that I'm looking at. We also could look at some other things like the regression bands. What I thought was interesting actually is that the top part of the lower regression band is now at 29,957. The reason that's interesting is because the summer lows, right? The summer lows, we are now, the upper part of the regression band is now above some of these wick lows that we saw. And back over there, the regression band was, from that wick, the upper part of the regression band was like 27% below it. Now it would correspond to it. And so hence the argument that time is on our side, right? As long as we can just continue marching through time, these longer term supports, they just sort of keep growing, right? They keep growing slowly but surely. So arguably, the 30K level is also an important milestone, as it is the top of this regression band. Remember too that when we got rejected off of this regression band, we got rejected off the bottom of it, not the top of it. In order for us to have gone to the top of it back then, Bitcoin would have had to go to like $95,000, but we didn't make it to $95,000 clearly. And then the upper part of this regression band is at 30K, almost 30K. The fair value fit to non-bubble data is now still at just over $20,000. So hopefully, you have a good idea of what the downside risk is. Hopefully you have a good idea of sort of the lines in the sand that Bitcoin needs to get back above in order for us to keep the party going. And we'll just continue to monitor Bitcoin and see where we ultimately go. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also, check out the Sell on the Premium list. You can lock in the low rate as long as you do not cancel, and I will see you next time. Bye.